Hey, it's Brett here. Quick kind of story I had, I guess, from yesterday. I was talking to somebody and we were talking about kind of a expecting more type of deal. And the person was really focused on essentially being in kind of a survival mode and how survival mode has prevented them from really focusing on growing at all. And I guess the irony of this is that I look at it like when you're stuck in survival mode, if you don't focus on growing, you're really never going to get past that point. So I got to thinking a little bit more about it, and I was thinking like survival as a whole is really ultimately, you start to define not just where you're at, but who you are as being in survival mode at that point in time. It's a matter of just getting by. And it's a really crappy place to be in because it's a constant state of need. A state of need is a very negative emotion to be in that brings a lot of other negative emotions with it. There's a lot of hostility goes with it. There's depression. There's anxiety about things. There's always a constant state of worry. The thing that you find with a lot of these people is that ultimately, like when they're in a state of survival, they're also doing enough to get by, which creates a level of just doing they're willing to be just comfortable at that point. They're not willing to get uncomfortable because it's survival. And the big lesson out of it, I guess, ultimately is that to get to a next level, that person has to get uncomfortable. To get out of survival mode, you have to get uncomfortable. And really how I look at it or broke it down was there's three areas you got to figure out in terms of that. You got to think differently. In other words, you got to think uncomfortably. By that I simply mean is like, what are the things you've been thinking about? It's just, I got to pay my next bill. I got to go handle this situation. I got to handle that situation type of thing versus thinking about the future. You're not thinking about what's right in front of you this day, but you actually have a vision for what's down the road. A week, a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years. The people with the biggest visions are the ones who are thinking so much further ahead of their current circumstance right now. They're never concerned with what's right now. They're never in survival mode at that point in time. The second piece is your environment. Is like you got to get your environment uncomfortable because more than likely your environment is producing exactly what you're getting right now. It's the people you surround yourself with, the information you put in your brain and you don't put in your brain. That environment's where you're at. You got to get uncomfortable. Get around different people who push you a little bit more. Get around, read different books that make you a little bit more uncomfortable, challenge your way of thinking. And lastly on there, you've got to start getting uncomfortable with the actions that you take. Some people, that means just getting off your butt and doing something at that point in time, but getting uncomfortable and taking some direction, some sort of movement. Survival, you think about it, like if you're out in the middle of an ocean and you're in survival mode and you're just floating there, sooner or later you're not going to survive. Like you got to move, you got to swim in a certain direction. Otherwise, you're never going to make it out of that current spot there. So from a standpoint of taking action, it's like what can you start doing, literally physically doing, that is different than you are right now? Making a phone call, sending an email, having a conversation with somebody, getting work done you keep putting off, doing the difficult work you aren't willing to do, the things that make you a little squirmish. That's the crap you got to start doing if you want to get out of survival mode at that point in time. So really survival is all about comfort. Getting out of survival mode is all about getting uncomfortable.